Hi, it's Brian Rose from London Real. This week we had Eddie Bravo on the show. He's the founder of 10th Planet Jiu Jitsu and a guy that we interviewed 6 months ago when we were in Los Angeles going on the Joe Rogan experience. And the first thing Eddie says is, "Where's Nick?" And I said, "Nick's gone." But the show continues. About 3 weeks ago, Nick and I both made separate announcements on Facebook that after 14 awesome months together, we would be parting ways. We decided to keep the details to ourselves, but we never told the people on YouTube or on iTunes. So here it goes. You know, going forward, we would really appreciate your support on London Real. We can't do this without you guys. You know, I feel like we're all trying to spread this message, and this is some way for us to better understand each other. But if you can't support us, then I completely understand. And there are some awesome podcasts out there like Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, Duncan Trussell, Daniel Bolelli, Brian Callen to watch. You know, London Real was never really about the hosts, and it's not really about the guests. It's just a way for you every week to try to understand someone who isn't like you, and to maybe empathize with them, and ultimately maybe even, you know, to love someone who is not like you. And you might have learned by watching London Real that Dorian Yates is more than just a guy with big muscles. You might have learned that that Graham Hancock was talking about this ridiculous phenomenon going on for the last 40 years called the war on drugs. Or you might have listened to Jacques Fresco, 96 years old, from the Venus Project, tell you about the time he asked Albert Einstein if he believed in God. Or maybe you heard something that I said, and you were like, "Fuck you, Brian. You capitalist, ex-banker, jiu-jitsu purple belt, ayahuasca drinking American motherfucker." And you know what? That's cool too. I would much rather you have that reaction by watching London Real than sit back on your sofa and get spoon-fed the BBC and the Fox News garbage, and just be another zombie, you know? So if we got that kind of reaction, then I'm cool with that, you know? That makes me happy. So Nick's gone, and I appreciate that some people are gonna miss him. Luckily, we've got over 60 episodes in our back catalog, and you can watch them at any time. And so you have a whole new set of guest hosts to look forward to, and you can learn to dislike them all if you wish, because they're going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and they don't even know what they're doing, just like I didn't when I started. But I would ask you if you could please cut them some slack. They donate their time for free every week just to be told that they're not Nick. And it's no fun dealing with me. You know, I've got pages of notes, and I'm trying to extract as much information as possible out of these guests in 90 minutes so you can actually understand who they are. And these guys are just trying to get a word in edgewise. And on top of that, I'm a fucker to deal with. I'm a perfectionist. I don't accept excuses, and I cannot tolerate a victim mentality. And if you don't believe me, ask Nick. I guarantee that boy does not miss me at all. So we're gonna keep doing this thing at London Real, and I really hope we can do it with your support, and you'll keep listening. You know, when I'm ever having a moment where I'm feeling down about the show, I just think about Jake Wood, who was he's the British soldier and the veteran of Afghanistan, who we had on the show the other night, and he's a sufferer of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm sitting there in this studio, and this guy, his hands are shaking for 2 hours. as he talks about losing friends of his in war, and about shooting an Afghani and how he feels about it. And I just think we're getting his message out to the world, and I just know we're doing something right. I just know we are doing the right thing. Or last night when we had Sully Breaks on, who was the spoken word performer, and he's 25 years old, and he's getting this message out to the urban youth, to kids that might just get into crime, and people that will never have the privileges that I had. And if we can just get one more person to get his message and to understand what he says, then all the bullshit that I deal with in making this show twice a week, all the hates, all the fucking nonsense, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all, because I know what we're doing is the right thing. And I hope you feel the same way as I do. And I hope that you keep supporting us and let more people know about these kinds of people in the world. And I just want to keep bringing more and more of those people. I think this show is going to end up turning all of my hair gray, not just the sides. And I think probably sooner or later my family's going to leave me, because I spend 7 days a week in the studio, and I'm pretty sure it's going to turn me bankrupt as well, this show. But when I think about that stuff, I'm reminded of my brothers in arms, the LA gang members, the Crips and the Bloods in the 1980s, and they would get asked, why are you guys still gangbanging? Why do you continue with this destructive behavior? And they would respond with 4 words: can't stop, won't stop. I'm Brian Rose with London Real, and I send peace to you. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. With me is David Mangum, who's the Director of Operations for UCFC.
Hi, Brian.
And joining us today is the man himself, the founder of 10th Planet Jiu Jitsu, Mr. Eddie Bravo. Welcome.
I thought you were going to say Eddie fucking Bravo.
I was going to say Eddie motherfucking Bravo, but I thought that might be disrespectful.
Can you say that on the radio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eddie motherfucking Bravo.
That sounds better, right?
Better?
Was that hard?
No, I liked it. Yeah. Shit. I was getting kind of excited. Welcome to London, man.
Thank you for having me.
What do you like coming to the UK? I mean, when I landed in LA, when I saw you last time, it felt like I was landing on the planet Mars when I come from London, because everything's so different. The temperature's different. The people are different. Do you find this like Mars here?
Not like Mars. More like Jupiter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been to England probably in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 times, I think, and mostly with the UFC. I've been out here without the UFC a couple times, I think. I like the people. I like the people, especially the jiu-jitsu people. I like the way you guys. Not you. You're not even English, but I like the way the English talk. I like that the use of the word proper. I like that. It's nice.
Are they nicer people, you think, than in LA?
Nicer. I think so. I think they are nicer. What do you think?
I think so too. I think in London we forget, but I think people are actually courteous. They'll go out of their way. They'll give you directions and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think so. City. Up north, because we flew in Thursday night, as you guys call it, up north. The people were really nice up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super nice.
Yeah.
You have schools up there? How many schools do you have in England?
3 at the present time.
Okay. Birmingham,
Darlington, and Grimsby.
Okay. And how many schools do you have now total in the world?
I think it's 42 or 43. I'm not quite sure.
And you visit them regularly, right?
I try to. It's tough, but I try to.
I mean, they're like all over the states and Montana and...
Not Montana.
Not Montana?
Canada. Have a few in Canada. No Montana. No Wisconsin. No North Dakota. No South Dakota. no Idaho, no Maine, no Delaware,
What about Europe?
no Georgia.
Anywhere France or Germany or anything? Or
I
they
want to
don't-
name all
they
the
don't play
countries in
that?
Europe that I'm not in.
Are you in any? Or you are in a bunch?
Sweden, in Stockholm, and Durban, South Africa.
Yeah, Durban. That's pretty hardcore.
Durban or Durban?
I think it's Durban.
Okay.
It's known as pretty hardcore down there. As in the toughest city compared to like Joburg or Cape Town, I think Durban is.
You've been down to South Africa.
Yeah, I've been to Joburg and to Cape Town.
You go check out the great whites.
I did. I went and dove with them. Like,
What?
Yeah, got in the cage, and that was some scary bullshit. Yeah.
How many were around?
4 or 5. And
Wow.
we took a boat out to get there, and I was like, "Do you have a life vest?" You know, because you just like to have one when you're on the boat. And the guy's like, "If you fall off this boat," he said, "you will not make it back to the thing, swimming with a life vest or not." So I said, "What's the point?" Because there's great whites everywhere. So he was just like,
And they will attack humans.
"Oh yeah, they're all over it." I mean, of course, they stick the piece of tuna in there with a rope, and they get it to actually bite you, and then you go into the cage underneath the water, and then they go by you. It's a little intense.
And they want you.
They're just big. They're just big, and they come cruising by and stuff. Yeah, it's worth doing.
It's crazy. In this one documentary that I was talking to Dave about the other day, I don't know what part of South Africa this is, but there's a beach where there's people at the beach, and there's a hotel, and it's like a resort. And the lifeguards or whatever, the shark patrol, they're in helicopters patrolling, looking for sharks. And they can see that there's baby great whites off to the side, like a few hundred yards away or whatever, and they're just keeping an eye on them, and they know that the babies don't attack humans. Somehow they figured that out. But they could see them. You could see the people, and you could see the sharks. And then, I don't know how far out, but maybe, I'm saying maybe a mile out, there's this little island, the Seal Island. It may be called Seal Island, where the great whites just chill, and they just jack seals.
Yeah.
And they keep an eye on them to make sure that they stay there and don't drift into the population.
It could be.
Can you imagine who would even go in there, knowing that they're not too far away?
Some of these guys dive with them. You know, they go down in and they dive, free dive with the sharks.
With the great whites?
Yeah, but apparently the trick is never turn your back on them. So you always keep looking at them, and when they start making a move for you, they can do this or something like that. But always keep an eye on them, and they just go down there without a cage.
That's crazy.
Crazy ass stuff.
That's new stuff, because they never did that before, right?
I think this is last few years.
Yeah, it's brand new stuff.
And they always,
you know what? They're probably really, really stoned. I bet if you just look at them, that'd be one crazy ass dude.
They're these hard, like, guys that speak Afrikaans, you know, like these old school Dutch motherfuckers, and they're real hard guys, and they'll be like, I don't know the accent, but they're like, the great white, don't do that. You know, don't put your back to him.
That's scary.
I sound like a pirate now. No, but you gotta do it. It is that island. There's an island where all the seals are. And when they go between the shore and the island, the great whites just eat them. And it's the highest concentration of great whites in the world, density. So you go out there, and then they fish for them, and then they come by.
That's scary.
Yeah. It's scary, but you're safe, but it's scary.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
I'll just watch it on TV. I don't need to really go, feel it,
Okay.
Dave is a scuba diver, right?
I'm a
Certified?
diver, yeah, and I've dived
Really?
with all these sharks, except a great white.
Okay. Is it scary down there when you're seeing sharks?
No. I'm telling Eddie, it takes away the fear before you get in is there, but once you get in, the beauty overcomes the fear by far.
That didn't happen to me. The last time I scuba dived, I was snorkeling. I went with my brother. My brother's really into it. He's got big balls. He'll go deep. I went out with him, and I thought I could hang, and he was in front of me like maybe 20, 30 yards, and he was going deeper and deeper. And I followed him a little bit, and then I just looked around, and I just imagined, like Jaws ruined it for me. It ruined it for me. I just turned around and swam back to shore, and I never went back ever. So the beauty, I was still scared even with all that beauty.
That was snorkeling or scuba?
Yeah, snorkeling, yeah.
I don't like scuba because when it gets like 10 meters under, I'm just like, fuck.
It's
If
too
something
deep.
goes wrong, I'm fucked.
You're
Yeah,
into
it's got to be calm
How deep?
and enjoy it rather than thinking too much. And
How deep did you go?
40 metres
Yeah, that's pretty fucking deep.
for an hour. Just an hour at a time, and
Like
it's
120
beautiful.
feet.
Swimming with a 40-foot fish is a really good feeling, strangely enough.
Swimming with a 40-foot fish.
Yeah. A
40
whale shark.
A whale shark.
Yeah.
You holding on to it and stuff?
No, I don't. No, just don't touch anything.
Okay.
Rule number one.
Wow.
And enjoy it. Yeah, it's really nice, really beautiful.
Is it weird being away from your son? Like, is this like the first big trip you've done away from him? And
This is the second big trip. I was in Australia for a few days, but this is the longest one. Yeah, it sucks, man. I miss him big time. I miss him like right when I drive away. I miss him.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you try to FaceTime him or something, or is that just not the same? Or Skype him?
It's
or
not the
something?
same. It's not the same. I'm constantly getting pictures, and my wife sends me, so that'll be good enough.
It's funny because when our last interview, you were talking about once you have a son, you like really protect him. Like I have a stepdaughter, and like I'll protect her. But you were saying once it's your biological kid, you'll do anything. You know?
Yeah, I'll rip someone's throat out with my bare hands if I had to.
How old is he now?
He's gonna be 1 March 16th.
And you're happy you did that, or there's never any regrets once you jumped in? It was like,
No,
this is the right thing to do.
yeah.
But you waited. I mean, do you think if you'd done that when you were like 30 years old, it would have been too much, or you think you would just kind of figure out a way to roll with
It would have been different at 30.
Yeah.
I was super broke at 30, so it would have been hard. I lived in a little piece of shit shack of a house, so yeah, that wouldn't have been too. Everything was perfect, you know. From 30 to 40, I was single, lived, soiled my oats, as they say.
Soiled them?
What do you? How do they say it?
You sow them. I
I
think.
didn't soiled.
You sold him.
Oh, okay, sowed the oats. Okay, I knew. I was close though.
It was close. It was close.
Because I knew it was an S. But if you knew the stories, you would say, "Oh, it is soiled your oats." Okay. Okay, I get it now.
I can't imagine being 30 and having a kid. I mean, I could barely take care of my own bullshit at 30, and let alone have some kid running around.
How old are you?
I'm 42 now.
Yeah. For me, it was at 40, kind of like freaked out. I could only imagine. Well, my grandfather and my grandmother had 10 kids, a big Mexican family, and every Thanksgiving and every Christmas, we all got together, a million cousins, and that's my grandma and grandpa with all these 10 children and a shitload of grandchildren. And then my real father, he was really good friends with my grandfather, actually. He had 19 kids, but from like 8 different chicks.
Wow.
Yeah, and my mom was just one chick, and he got her pregnant and was with her for a while, but he was just getting everybody pregnant. And one of the last pieces of advice he gave me, the first piece of advice he gave me, because he knew he wasn't going to see me anymore, he was going to disappear. So the second to the last time I saw him, I saw him at 14, and then I didn't see him until 27, and then that's it. But at 14, he knew he was going to disappear for a while, and he told me, make sure your wife is at least 15 years younger than you. This is what he's like giving advice, He goes, 'cause they get old really quick. I'm like, okay. He's telling this to a 14-year-old kid. He also said, respect children, which is kind of ironic that he really doesn't. But because they grow up really fast. So you don't want to be a douchebag to kids, because they'll grow up and turn into adults really quick. You want to make sure you're nice to them. And he also said, the last thing he said when I saw him at 27, hadn't seen him forever, we had one more dinner, and he's giving me some advice. He said, do what your grandfather did. He did it right. I did it all wrong. And I remember that, and that stuck with me. And that's coming from, like, he was just the ultimate player, well, in his own little way. 19 kids.
Jesus. Yeah.
My biological father he had a day job. He was a truck driver, but by night he was a concert promoter. He, in the Mexican music scene, back in the late 60s, downtown LA that's where Mexican bands played a lot. It was like the Sunset Strip, but for Mexican bands. Like Vicente Fernandez is like the Elvis of of Mexican music, and he was good friends with my dad. He brought in all the Mexican bands and he booked them. And my mom wanted to be a singer, and she loves partying and loves going dancing, and she loves singing with mariachis and all that. She showed up to one of his clubs, and they met, and my dad was married. He had 5 kids, and he started seeing my mom on the side. It was he was just super player, and one of the last things he said, that may have been the last thing he said, do what your grandfather did. And so when I turned 40, I thought, man, I don't want to grow old alone. I want to grow old with a clan that will die for me, because we're the same DNA. I want that. At 40, I thought, I want my own little clan.
That hits you at 40.
Yeah, because, now that I have my son, every year that I get older, it doesn't hurt as much. You're 38 and like, fuck, I'm almost 40, and then you're 39, like, holy shit, I feel like I'm 28 and I'm almost 40. And now that I have a son, every year I get older, he gets smarter. Yeah. So you get something back now. Instead of losing a year, then everything's gone. You lose another year. When you have kids, you lose a year, but you're gaining a year for them. So it's a beautiful thing and gives your life meaning. And I want more. And my son's everything. I love it. I love him so much. It's scary. And people always said, "Oh, kid's gonna change your life. Your life is gonna change." Oh, and it sounds so basic and broad. Like, oh, I never really. I didn't feel it. Oh, it's gonna change your life. Everyone says that. Oh, when people that have kids and don't run from them, the ones that stay and worship their kids, they all say the same. It's gonna change your life. And didn't really hit me till I had my kid. I'm like, oh, that's what they mean. It does change your life. I get it now. And you don't become your personality doesn't really change or anything. It's you just now all of a sudden you're living life with love turned all the way to 10. And most of the time you're living life with your love meters at 5 or 6, and you think that's 10, but it's really not. And there's so much love, it's scary too. You're worried that if something happens to him, that would destroy me. So there's so much love, but now you're vulnerable, and you're just always worried about him. And
Do your friends say you've changed? Like, are they like, Eddie, you're a different guy than you were a year ago or whatever?
Well, I don't know. Maybe. To tell you the truth, I don't know, because I really don't have any friends right now, because I spent all my time with my son. I don't have time for anything. And maybe they would say that if I would hang out with them, but I never hang out with anybody.
Really? Is it bad?
It's just
you that guy?
It's just I'm either at home or I'm out teaching jiu-jitsu.
Okay. And when your father said be more like your grandfather, what did he mean?
Oh, he said more. He goes, what he has during Christmas, when he has his whole family all around him and all his grandchildren, and they all love him and they all worship him, because that's the meaning of life right there. Because we're all gonna get old, unless you die, of course. Then nothing matters anyways. But we're all gonna live life. And I've talked about this before, maybe on my podcast. But when we look at like a 20-year-old kid who doesn't have any legs, maybe he's missing his legs, we look at him partially and maybe mostly, we look at him and we feel sorry for him, because we feel like, wow, girls don't like that. It's going to be very hard for him to get anybody to, marry him or anything, Finding a girl that's he's going to be limited. There are people out there probably, but that's what we feel like. His sexual desire has just been eliminated. I think that's the root of it. Because if girls were totally turned on, like most girls were totally turned on by guys without legs, then we'd have dudes chopping off their legs all the time. We wouldn't feel sorry for that guy. If he lost his legs, we're like, dude, he's so lucky. He's gonna get laid like constantly now. Fuck, we should chop our legs off. We wouldn't feel that sorry for him. Right? If you just had all these girls all around him, but we feel sorry for someone like that does a 20-year-old that doesn't have legs. But when you're 90, a girl would probably rather have sex with him more than a 90-year-old wrinkled man on life support, you know. So my point is, we're all gonna go through that. They just went through it before us, but eventually we're gonna have to live life where not only does no one want to fuck you when you're that old, but people think you're disgusting, especially people that don't know you. They see like an old person walking down. If you don't know that person, you're thinking, oh.
I was thinking of Grandpa Simpson. I mean, Grandpa Simpson gets no fucking respect from anybody. Like, they're always taking the piss out of him, ignoring him.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels
That's
like.
what we're all gonna have to take turns doing that.
That's gonna
it's just not our turn yet. It will be your turn unless you die first, but it will be your turn. How are you gonna live, and what's gonna be important to you at that point? You know, my guess is that family is going to mean everything, and you're going to realize how much family, how important that is, because that's where your love's going to come from. New people that meet you, they don't give a fuck about no old. They're not going to want to hire you. People are going to be annoyed by you. All you have is your family.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to grow old alone with no family, you know, your blood, your children, no matter what, unless, you know, you just have a terrible relationship and you're a douchebag father and you raise douchebag children, and then you're gonna be one of those old guys that has children but still gonna die alone, you know. But if you're a good guy and you're trying to do the right thing, family's everything. Your kids are everything. I mean, what else are you gonna do when you're old? What?
Yeah. How much did seeing friends of yours like Joe Rogan have kids? How much do you think that influenced you on finally having kids yourself?
It was huge.
It was subconsciously or consciously?
Consciously, it was huge.
Because he was kind of like you, where he was like, "I'm not going to have any kids," right? I mean, I know he has a stepdaughter, but
I never made a decision not to have kids. I just was so scared of it that I was just putting it off and not like really like trying to stay away from it as much as possible. And Joe was actually saying he didn't want to have kids. Because why have kids? Like, what's the point? What's the point? And then once he did, and I saw how much he loved his children, it was a lot like, and I've used this analogy before, it's like he went into the scary haunted house and I'd stay in the front yard. And then he came out in the top and said, "It's all good, come on in." And you're like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah." So it was kind of like that.
So what is he, 2 years ahead of you? 3 years?
3 or 4 or something like that.
All right.
He had 2 daughters recently, so.
And then you saw him with his kids, and you're like, okay, the haunted house is okay.
Yes, exactly. It's not haunted after all.
Do you make like conscious decisions when you're raising your son? I know he's really young, but do you always think, okay, I'm going to be this father, or I'm going to be like a real hard ass father, or I'm going to be trying not to be the, you know,
what I think about
guy.
is what's the best route to make sure that we're best friends. What's the best route?
Okay.
Because you definitely don't want to go like too hard ass, or too soft. What is the best combination? When I go on the road and teach my seminars, and when I see fathers bring their 10-year-old son or 12-year-old son, and they're really involved in their jiu-jitsu, they're jiu-jitsu dads. And 99.99% of the time, they're like best friends. And when I meet these people, and I meet them over and over again, and got to know them over the years, and like Avery and his father, they got the perfect relationship. And Jacob Harris down in Sherman and his dad, they got a great relationship. I'm hoping, and I think I'm going to be able to pull it off. I think so. I think jiu-jitsu has a lot to do with it, but I hope I'm able to pull that off. The thing that one of the biggest fears I had about having children was, I saw how people can have children and not give a fuck about them. I saw that. I saw it with my real dad. He didn't give a fuck about me. My stepdad didn't give a fuck about me either, but that's understandable. I wasn't really his flesh, so I could understand. I didn't blame him that much. It's like, don't like lions kill cubs that aren't theirs? Don't they eat them or something like that? I'm sure that had something to do with it. It's in his DNA. He was just, but my father, he obviously didn't give a shit. So I was scared that I would have a kid and I'd be like him and I would run. And my worst nightmare was having a kid that would feel the same way about me as I felt about my father. that scared the shit out of me.
Right. That's the ultimate fail.
Yeah. But no, I think that fear is the way I was raised turned me into, I think it like skips generations or something, because I love my son so much, it's ridiculous. So I know whoa, you know, it's like you went in for some cancer test and you came out, oh, I don't have that cancer. Nice. You know, it's a wonderful thing. And I kind of knew that I was going to be a good father anyways, because I had a bunny for 2 years ago. I had a bunny, he's dead now, and it was super sad, but I don't know how and why I loved that bunny so much. His name was Bean. I worshiped that little fucking bunny.
Really? Just one bunny you had?
Just one bunny.
Okay.
I worshiped. I don't know. I had two cats that, two miniature fucking tigers in the house, and I dig them and I love them, but they weren't even close to the bunny.
Is it because it was vulnerable, you think?
I don't know what it was.
Okay.
I don't know what it was. It was psychosis, but I would think about them during the day. I couldn't wait to go to Whole Foods and get him some new cauliflower, and I dedicated a whole bedroom to. He had the whole bedroom to himself, and we put a cage around it. But the cage was the size of a bedroom, and I built a little bunny city. And I mean, it was like and so I knew. I thought it was bizarre, and I still do. Where did all this love come from?
Right.
For this little bunny, and that gave me confidence that I was going to be a good father.
You gonna get another bunny, or are you done?
No
with
more.
that?
No, they died too quick.
Really?
Yeah.
They're killing.
Oh man,
depressing.
I love that bunny more than any other pet I've had. Any other dog, I love that thing so much. It's so bizarre. It was so weird. I can't explain it. And when he died, he went in for oral surgery, and they put him to sleep to work on some abscess that was in his mouth, and he never woke up. Man, that was the saddest day of my life. It was weird, man.
Wow.
My wife called me and said, Bean's dead. He had a heart attack, or his heart stopped in surgery. And I was like, fuck. And the one thing I wanted the most from that bunny is I don't know if this is like a bad thing or not, but he was a wild rabbit, and wild rabbits, you can't hold them and pet them and lay with them. They want to get pet, they want to get massaged, that's all they want. They'll come up to you and you could pet him, but he has to be sitting on the ground next to you. You can't like hold him. And there's a lot of rabbits that you could hold and you could lay with and pet, and they love massages. They love massages more than cats, more than dogs. They love it. You could pet him all day, and he ain't gonna move. A cat, after a couple minutes, they'd even get bored, and they get up and they leave. They're like, enough with that massage. I gotta go fucking scratch up some carpet or something. And I wanted him to lay with me so I could pet him. So when my wife called me up and said that he was dead, and she was going to drive to Bakersfield to bury him because it was her bunny, and she had a brother bunny, and he died, and she loved the bunny just as much as me, and she was going to drive to Bakersfield an hour and a half to go bury him. She goes, "You're going to come with me?" And I said, "Fuck no." Be in a car for an hour and a half with my dead Bean? I couldn't imagine that. I said, fuck no. But then for 5 minutes, I was just like hysterical in the house, just trying to figure out what the fuck. Because this is a shock. He shouldn't be dead. How did he die? It was just a fuck up from the doctor fucked up somehow. His routine surgery, it was nothing, no big deal. So then I called her up and told her to come pick me up. And when she picked me up, she was outside in the truck, and she had the bunny on her lap, and she was driving, had the bunny on her lap, and the bunny looked so beautiful. It wasn't mangled or nothing. It just died in its sleep. It looked all beautiful. And I got into the passenger seat. She handed him to me, and I had this dead bunny just like I wanted him in my lap. Yeah, I just wanted him just like that, just so I could pet him. And shit, man, I'm always taking pictures and video everywhere I go, and I'm bawling. I got tears running down my face. I'm taking pictures of him. I thought, okay, I need these pictures. That's what I do. I'm just taking pictures all the time and video. And man, it was torture. an hour and a half of torture, and then we buried him and everything. And for days, it was just really, it was crazy. It was so traumatic. As a bunny, a fucking bunny. I didn't get it. Like, where did all this love come from? Where I had to delete those pictures from my phone.
Really?
I had to delete them. I couldn't look at them.
Were you angry?
Isn't that nuts?
That is nuts.
It's fucking nuts.
Were you angry at the doctor?
Never even talked to him.
Okay.
Never. It was just, you know, it's crazy. That's crazy. December 6th, 2011. That's when he died.
That's crazy. I had a cat die recently, and
A fucking bunny.
it's amazing how much
How
it
weird
hurts
is
you.
that?
But yeah, that is weird.
It's so weird.
That's-
I didn't get it, man. And immediately, as soon as we got home, we're throwing away all his shit. We just didn't want it, you know. And I saved a couple. I saved his UFO, and I saved his little plastic little castle. But everything else, we just had to throw everything away. We just couldn't see it. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. You're a fucking
Yeah,
bunny.
that's weird. Have you talked to other bunny owners? Do they have that same connection?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah.
It's not just
Oh, yeah.
you.
No, they are pretty fucking cute, man.
They
Go
are cute.
Google bunny cute. Just put bunny cute and then images, and bunnies are way cuter than cats. Cats look cool.
Yeah.
Cats look. They're miniature tigers. They look cool,
Yeah.
but they're fucking annoying a lot of the times.
Yeah. Sometimes
And they beg too much for the food. They just. I
Sometimes
don't
they're
know.
antisocial too.
Yeah, yeah.
Antisocial
I don't know.
bastards.
And I love my cats too, Nurse and Guilo. I love them, but nowhere near the bunny. And when my son was born, oh man, they're more annoying than ever. Because when we put them to sleep and those motherfuckers would start meowing, it gets so annoying. You realize, man, I didn't love those cats like I thought I did. Yeah. Once the baby's in town, you know, shut the fuck up with that meowing. Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Throw pillows at them. Fucking.
I was wondering, how do you stay excited about your jiu-jitsu when you've been doing it for so long? I mean, how do you stay excited? Is it all the new techniques you're always coming up with, or new schools, or what
It's
keeps
not.
you involved?
Every now and then a new technique pops up, but there's so much other game that other people have made up. There's so much. There's just too much to learn. It'll never end. There's so much. You know, it's a beautiful thing. Like if I was learning striking, everything's already taught. Uppercut, right cross, hook, you know, it's all done. There's no new punches in boxing. But jiu-jitsu is totally different. Jiu-jitsu is just new. There's so much. It's four-dimensional. It's just so many different angles and so many different things and so many different styles. It's incredible. It's a beautiful thing because you're just never done. The work's never done. There's always new material to teach. There's always, I mean, I've been teaching seminars now close to 10 years, and I never run out of material.
And why are the 10th Planet schools so loyal, do you think? I mean, it's not like a cult, but like everyone really sticks together and they...
Not everybody.
No?
No,
Really? All right.
No, there's guys that defect.
Okay.
Yeah, it's normal.
It just seems like if you can think of one school that's all around the world, that's the one that it seems that, I don't know, everyone seems
I don't know
really
about
cohesive.
that. Like I said, I have 42, 43 schools, and Gracie Baja has hundreds, and Alliance, I don't know how many. How many does Alliance have?
I just like when I think of Gracie Baja, I just don't think them all kind of coming together. But when I think of 10th Planet, maybe it's because you're associated with it. They all just seem, I don't know, they seem very connected. There's Gracie Baja in Baja, and then there's a Gracie Baja here, and I don't know if they really talk that much. But your 10th Planet guys all seem to, maybe it's because you got the forum and the videos and everything.
Maybe it's because we're small still. Maybe when there's 410 planets, it's going to be just like Gracie Baja. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm going to try not to... I really don't know how they run their schools or how tight they are. I don't know. I know they're giant, but I don't know how tight they are. But the one thing I do know is the 10th Planet family that is super tight, and we all come together on the Nibiru forum at 10thplanetjj.com. That's where we all come together. That's where all my head instructors all come together, and we touch base and stay, you know, and Mastering the System, my instructional series / web series. That's how I keep all my schools up to date on the latest tweaks, the latest techniques that I feel is important to hit at a particular time, you know. And we are tight, and I have some head instructors that, I mean, they're so loyal and they're so, not like I said, not all of them stay. Every now and then we lose a school or two. Some people decide to go back to the gi. You know, we're always going to fluctuate back and forth. We're gonna gain 4, lose 2, gain 5, lose 0. But I'm happy where we're at right now. If we stayed at 40 for the rest of my life, I'll be cool.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. The guys that I do have now, I mean, I love them to death.
Did one of your purple belts just fight on the Ultimate Fighter?
Yes, Kelvin.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Like, he was the young kid, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was a great fight, man. I was so happy to see him win. I don't know, because the other guy was talking so much trash, but he really fought. Really
I think Kelvin's the youngest competitor in the show's history.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah. He was the last guy picked from Sonnen's team. They went in for the weak sauce. They wanted to get in and get the weak sauce. They thought they had an easy win right there. Yeah. Kelvin's a machine.
Does he train at your?
He trains at 10th Planet Yuma. Under the head instructor there is Brian Beaumont.
Okay.
And he's the one who brought him up.
Okay.
He wrestled too in college, so he came in a beast, and Brian polished him up and turned him into a jiu-jitsu monster.
It's interesting. Like, I was watching the Ronda Rousey fight last weekend, and you know, before she put that armbar off, you know, Rogan's saying, oh, okay, she's got her in the spider web and stuff like that, and it's like Rogan's always dropping in these kind of these 10th planet terms, you know, like he's got the rubber, he doesn't have the rubber guard right, he's putting the spider web and all that kind of thing. And I was just wondering if you think that's intentional, or is because that is the word, even though you created like the spider web. But
well,
no one ever called it that.
Joe Rogan is a 10th planet black belt.
Yeah.
So it's very important in 10th planet that every transition and every move is named, just to make things easier to teach and share. Hoist Gracie himself said that his father, Helio Gracie, the Grandmaster of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, intentionally didn't name every transition and every move. I don't know why. It may have been to keep the system in the family and not really, I don't know, but Americans like to name everything because Americans like the most efficient way they like to put things together efficiently. And that's just, I thought everyone was gonna do what I was doing, naming. I was surprised so many transitions weren't named. And you gotta name everything, not just the moves, the transitions. And sometimes the names are cool, sometimes they're stupid, sometimes they're embarrassing, sometimes I regret a certain name.
Like what?
But I regret
DPO?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do regret DPO.
Can you explain what DPO is, just for someone who might not know?
Well, the original name for the DPO move is the limp arm.
Right. It's a classic wrestling move, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a classic wrestling move, and that's a move, in my opinion, that only works when you surprise someone. So if you call out limp arm, get to the dog fight and limp arm, it's not going to work when you're coaching. So
because the other guy will hear it.
Yeah, so we needed to come up with, for that name specifically. For that name, it's probably a good idea to rename every move, have code names for everything, just to make it even harder to figure out how you're being coached against. But DPO, we needed another name for limp arm. So
Did you take a survey or something?
no, this one I just went ahead and just did
I
it.
thought you took a survey of your class and
I
came up
just
with a
did
few, and then that
And
won't work.
the funny thing in the book, DPO, is there's a typo. They even had it wrong. So there's all this confusion going on over that move. So it's DPO. So we needed to come up with something to replace limp arm. So limp arm, in my head, limp dick. What makes a dick limp more than dead pussy odor? So
odor. Yeah. Because it said order in the book.
Yes, in the book it says dead pussy order. I'm like, order? What does that even mean? That sounds like some stripper militia.
Right. It comes to your table like on a plate, dead pussy odor, and you're like, oh Jesus. That's
Militia of hookers. dead pussy order.
That's what I thought it
I
was.
don't know what it is.
That's what I thought it was.
No, it's actually, it was supposed to be dead pussy odor.
Okay. Okay, so that one, so now you yell at DPO when you just in the limb part.
Yeah.
Okay.
I regret it though. That's the one I regret.
You take some flack for that?
Yeah. I don't personally have a kids program, but many and most of my affiliates do, and then they got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, they got to deal with the kids and the parents and all that stuff.
Can you rebrand the acronym DPO to something else, maybe?
Personally, I do not think cursing in front of children is like all that bad. What's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? It's not a big deal. But I do understand that parents have children and they're trying to keep the cursing away from them as long as possible. They're trying to delay it. I do understand that. But personally, for me, I don't care. If I don't want as long as the kids keep it to themselves, they're cursing amongst themselves. As long as you have respect for your elders, and those are just rules, don't curse around your elders and just keep it between you guys. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Are you going to get your son to call people sir and ma'am and all that stuff or not?
There's something to teaching them respect.
Yeah.
There's something to that. If your ego won't let you call someone sir because you think it's putting them up on a pedestal or whatever, then you have the problem. You should constantly bow down. The older I get, the more I understand all that stuff. Like bowing in martial arts and all that. Just show, it's not, I used to think that bowing usually meant that that the head instructor had a big ego and he got off by people bowing to him. And I'm like, I'm not going to participate in that bullshit. He just wants people to bow down to him. That's the way I perceived it. But really, you don't just do it to your sensei. You do it to everybody. You know, if you respect everybody, then you're showing, I respect you. You're the sensei, I respect you. This is your school. I respect that. You're the man here. I respect my teammate. Hell yeah, I respect the dude washing the toilets. I respect everybody. What's wrong with that? Showing that you respect people and going out of your way and being, putting yourself, like, you're a big enough man to put you ahead of, like, just for a second, you're the man. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. No,
If
totally
you're like,
fair.
fuck that. Like, I don't want to deal with a guy that says, fuck that. I'm not going to bow down to that dude. And I don't want to deal with that guy. I want to deal with a guy that he's showing respect.
Since your early days, especially I remember mastering the rubber guard over here in England like 10 years ago. And remember the first 10 pages was you coming out and talking about cannabis, which was quite a radical move at the time. I know since then, lots of people got on board and are talking about it. And there's been, new legislation in the U.S., like in Washington State and I think in Colorado. And I was just wondering if you think that it's come far enough when it comes to legalization and the fight and everything. Is that something you're still kind of actively involved in, or are you just kind of letting it roll?
Well, a lot has changed since, like you said, since the release of Mastering the Rubber Guard, where I put my whole weed story in there.
Was that hard to get through the publisher, or was that a difficult thing to do?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I remember reading it, and it was like 10 full pages of you like breaking down, the madness going on in your mind, and the emperor has no clothes. And I don't know, I thought it was a real bold move for you to stand up and do that.
Well, my first book was on McGraw-Hill.
Okay.
And they wouldn't allow that. I wanted to do it in my first book. They wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't allow me to name the book. They wanted to name the book. They were in control. At first, I thought it was pretty amazing that my first book is on a major label. I thought that was crazy. All the other jiu-jitsu books were on minor labels, independent labels up to that point, and I thought it was the greatest thing until I started to realize that I had no power with these people. I thought I was gonna have a badass book, major label, big color photos. Once I found out that it was in black and white, I was fucking pissed. Black and white photos, and then it was gonna be like, my first book is almost like a pamphlet. So I didn't put that much effort into it, honestly. There's a lot of holes left in the system purposely. I really didn't give a fuck. I just gave people a taste. And I didn't want to at that point, I wasn't sure I wanted to give away everything first. There was a point where maybe I should just keep this for my people, or should I show the world. I wasn't sure. I was new at this. I didn't plan on teaching jiu-jitsu. I wasn't sure. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I didn't know. I let a fraud into the system, and I didn't know. I'm just a guy. I didn't even think I could even have affiliates until people just kept saying, you got to open up affiliates. Like, what is that? What do you do with affiliates? You have other people? Then I didn't get it. And I thought it was just something that I wouldn't be able to do. But then slowly, bit by bit, I started doing it. I learned, made some mistakes, and and now it's pretty crazy. But back to the weed thing, when it was time to do my second book, McGraw-Hill wanted to do another book, and I decided to put my foot down a little bit and ask for total control. And they said, fuck you. We don't let anybody have total control. And then I just said, fuck that. And signed with a minor label and Victory Belt. And they let me do whatever I want. That was part of the deal. Like, I had the final say in everything.
And you get a lot of color pictures. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a good looking book.
Yeah. They just wanted to make me happy. And they knew that if they made me happy, that we were going to have a good book, because I got to just be myself. And they just wanted me to be myself. And I said I could put anything. I wanted to tell my weed story, and how, the basic story of how I hated and was totally against anybody, stoners. I hated weed. I thought anybody that smoked weed was an idiot. I thought it caused brain cancer and lung cancer and made you insane. That's what I thought. Until I was 28. And when I was 28, I found out the truth and felt part of the reason I'm so open about the weed is because I was so wrong. I believed all the propaganda. I believed all the negative shit that was rammed down our throats. And then when I learned how and why it became illegal in the first place, that in itself is a crazy conspiracy theory that is just, it's insane how it all went down, how we all got fooled. So I just thought, I gotta let as many people know as possible what I figured out, and try to push as many people to the book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. All the answers were in there. Jack Herrera is the godfather of hemp. There's a documentary called The Godfather of Hemp. You gotta see that. That documentary is amazing. Before the Union, this is the original one that you watch. You watch The Godfather of Hemp. Is it The Godfather of Hemp? The Emperor of Hemp, not The Godfather of Hemp. The Emperor of Hemp.
I haven't watched it. I will.
The Emperor, you gotta watch it. That's one where you watch, and if you on the fence about smoking weed, you'll want to smoke weed right after that. Once you realize that we've all been tricked, and every person that's going to jail and that's ever been to jail for marijuana, that's all just all bullshit. And so people thought I was crazy. All of a sudden, I'm just this weed dude now in jiu-jitsu, and pissed off a lot of people in the Brazilian jiu-jitsu community. And I turned off a lot of people that signed up for me. Originally, when I opened up my school in 2003, it wasn't like about a weed thing, Once I put it in the story in my book in 2006, turned off a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah, and I knew it would. I wasn't shocked. But I also gained a lot of people. I gained a lot of people who were like, oh, cool, I could smoke weed and not feel bad about it and not have to hide it from my jiu-jitsu instructor. So I gained a lot of people, lost a lot of people. A lot of people stayed around for a while, they're on the fence, and then, as the weed talk kept going and interviews, and it just blew up from there. Lost people, but gained more people. And back then, we were nowhere near where we are now with as far as legalization, and all the states now that have legalized it medicinally, and we got 2 states that have legalized it across the board. Everything that I was saying, I feel a little vindicated now. All the people that got turned off and left, if you know the truth, everything you've ever thought negatively about weed, it's all that's your little after effects of the brainwash. It's still inside you.
Yeah. Do you think it needs to go further in California? Do you think they need to legalize it completely?
It needs to be legal worldwide.
Okay. And the real issue in California is the federal government and how they're still meddling, right?
Yeah, the federal government still considers marijuana a Schedule 1 drug, which is amazing. It shrinks brain tumors. It cures lots of cancers. There's just study after study now that just comes out all the time. There's all these different studies. It's a miracle plant. It's curing cancer, and it's illegal, and no one dies from it. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
We had bodybuilder Dorian Yates sitting in there in that chair a couple months ago, and he's a big fan of cannabis oil, used to treat cancer. And,
Yes.
Another big high-profile guy coming out and just saying stuff like that. He smokes DMT as well, and everyone was like, "Whoa, Dorian Yates. We didn't, think you were like this." And he's really interesting. Has a lot of conspiracy theories. Thinks there's fluoride in the water, all these things, and it was good for him to come out.
There
and
is
say
fluoride in the water.
He said that it blocks your pineal gland, is what he said.
Yeah. Clogs it up, leaves deposits.
It's important for people to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think psychedelics as well. We had a doctor here recently, and they're doing tests now with psilocybin, and he's just saying there's so much negative baggage behind things like LSD from the 60s and stuff that no one wants to think that magic mushrooms could be good for depression or addiction or all that stuff. So you've talked about ayahuasca and iboga, how it can get people to stop, doing addictions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I guess
I talked about DMT in my Twister book and what it did for me, and gave a little brief history on ayahuasca and what that is.
I didn't read that part.
I'm sure you talked about your ayahuasca trip on the show, right?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we did it before and after, and we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's illegal here, and it's a Class A drug. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you take it and you purge, and you have and people still think it's like a party drug or something.
Yeah.
It's very ridiculous. But could you just tell me a little bit about your DMT experiences? I haven't read that.
Well, it's a long story.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a long story, but I was at Joe's house, and we put on this documentary called Shamans of the Amazon. As I say, Shamans of the Amazon.
Shamans of the Amazon.
Yeah, it's a documentary, great documentary. I recommend it to every living soul on this planet. Shamans of the Amazon is a documentary about this documentary maker and his wife, his pregnant wife, and their 2-year-old daughter. They take a trip into the Amazon to drink this ayahuasca drink with the shamans out there in the middle of the jungle, and to document it and what it does and what it is. And as soon as me and Joe saw that, we immediately thought, that's what it does. It makes you want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to talk to the spirits. I want to see the other side. I want to see the meaning of life. I want some reassurance that life goes on forever. And that's what, generally, when you come back and you feel like, I think part of the reason it changes people's lives is you do take a glimpse into eternity. And you stick your head in and go, oh, it does last forever. Oh, man. And you come back. And when you know 100% in your mind, if that's what you think, if that's what you get from the experience, you come back and you feel like you just took a little glimpse at eternity. You live your life differently. You do.
How so? You think you're just more compassionate to other people?
Well, what I learned, I did it several times, and you learn different things each time. And on my own, if you do it in a state of fear, you are gonna get a light show. Like just this insane geometric light show that you could never, people say, oh, that's all in your head. Yeah, it's all in my head, but I didn't make that up. If I made up that light show, that intelligent life crazy show that you can't even describe, it's like the visualizer on your iTunes when you turn on music and all that. It's like that times 1,000. There's no way I made that up. I wish I could make something like that up. But you're getting plugged in to a different frequency. And you're getting a glimpse of it. And what I learned, I think my second or third time, the first time I was so scared that you go in and I threw up the first time, and it was crazy.
Smoking TMT.
Yeah,
Okay.
I threw up, and I didn't have a good experience. But when you do it, then the second time you have less fear, and when you have zero fear, like, oh, I can do this, let me go back. Then you break on through to the other side. But that's what I learned from when I was scared. When I did it and I was scared, I was in this 10-dimensional room of amazing geometric patterns and art, and I saw I felt a female presence, and it was a yellow room with yellow shapes and just beauty. It was a female presence, and every time I was scared or had like a scary thought, it was like she was slapping. She's like, no, you're not gonna get through with that. You can't get through. You won't get, that's all and I came back, and I knew, I remember telling Joe, I just felt like I was being slapped around. Anytime I thought anything negative, I was being slapped. So then you get to the point where you have zero fear. And when you have zero fear, you blow through all that visuals, and you go and, I mean, you communicate with spirits. And basically, it's hard to explain. What I learned from it was, it seemed like they were telling me, okay, you've seen it, it lasts forever, now go back and play the game. You don't need to, you're gonna have your whole eternity to be up here. Trust me, go back. Don't come back anymore. You don't need it, you already saw it, you don't need to come back. You got the point, now go live your life and live it to the fullest.
And you haven't smoked again?
I did it probably, I think 9 times.
Okay.
Total. And that last time was like, okay, you've done enough.
Right.
Now go live your life and go have fun. Life isn't about coming back to this side. Go live your life and you go play that game.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I think ayahuasca is kind of similar. I think, I could be wrong, but I think you have a kind of a finite number of things with ayahuasca where you go deep, 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 but then at some point you do go all those feelings down inside you, and you go to those demons, and then it's like, okay, yeah, now it's time to go live your life based on this knowledge that it gave you. And try not to get addicted to seeing the other side, because that's not what it's about, you know?
Yeah. It's that in itself right there those trips were life-changing for the better.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't, ayahuasca or DMT is not like a party drug. You don't want to do it to party. You want to do it to, like I said, to reassure yourself that this lasts forever. Do the right thing. Don't be a douchebag. Do the right thing. Constantly counsel yourself, and when you find yourself slipping into douchebaggery, pull yourself out. Check yourself every day. Fix yourself. That's what I got from it.
Okay. What's next for Smoke Serpent?
Smoke Serpent.
Yeah.
We might come back to England, and the UCFC is going to do a big stadium show. When is this?
July the 27th, Doncaster Keep Moat Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Big deal. Music and MMA.
Yes.
Cool.
So there's a couple big artists that you guys are throwing on there, right?
I'm not actually allowed to say just yet.
Okay.
Until
Makes it
they
sound
allow
cooler.
me to, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you might come over for that.
Yes, might come over for that. Since I had my son a year ago, it's been hard to really, the Smoke Serpent project has slowed down a lot as far as producing more stuff. We got so many songs on the back burner, but to get them to the point where they're releasable, where the production is amazing. I got used to Danny Lohner type production, so now I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to release anything until it sounds amazing. And we have so much material that we're going to release, but before we release anything, it has to sound like the stuff that we released over the last 6 months. If you go on my SoundCloud, did I already give that address?
No.
That was yesterday. That's how messed up I am right now. I have like 1 hour of sleep, and I just taught a seminar, so forgive me. If you go to my SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Eddie-Bravo, since my son, the Smoke Serpent songs, the releases have slowed. We released 2 Bass Nectar remixes. So the last 2 Smoke Serpent songs were actually a couple Bass Nectar songs that he's a EDM artist. Most of his songs are instrumentals, and I sampled a couple of his songs and turned them into Smoke Serpent songs. Smoke Serpent it's like if Marilyn Manson, The Cure, Depeche Mode, and Peter Murphy and Smashing Pumpkins all got together and the project was to form a rap band. That's what Smoke Serpent is. And I took the last 2 releases. You can go to iTunes and search for Smoke Serpent. There's a couple songs available. A song called Jiu Jitsu that Raka from Dilated Peoples jumped in on a verse, and a song called Dropped, which was on the Never Back Down 2 soundtrack. You could find those on iTunes. And I've been remixing a lot lately, again, because my time is so limited. I had a bunch of songs that I want to remix from other artists that I kept on the back burner. But since the birth of my son, I focused on that because I'm executive producing those. I'm taking my all-time favorite songs that weren't famous. They totally went under the radar. They went under the ocean, but they're fabulous songs that I put on repeat, amazing songs that I decided to remix and turn them into EDM or with some dubstep influences and some just basically into electronic dance music. You know, I remixed The Funeral by Band of Horses, turned that ballady song into cool-ass dark, I don't know if you'd call it dubsteppy, but it's just dark electronica. Took a song by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs called Skeletons, remixed that into, again, another EDM song. And what I'm doing is I'm executive producing them. I'm taking these songs, and I got 2 engineers working for me, Matt Horder and a DJ called Mr. Denizen. You know, I'm executive. They're doing all the technical work and all the engineering. I'm picking the songs, picking the part. We go back and forth, switch things up, change the drums, pull the snare out. Let's go with that. Ooh, I like that. Let's keep that. Let's change that. I don't like the bass sound. Go back and forth, and then boom, I drop it on my SoundCloud. And if you're bored of your music, jump on my SoundCloud and just go through everything. I remixed some pretty good songs. And Black Sabbath, Changes, remixed that. That one's good. Peter Murphy, Subway, turned that into, I combined Peter Murphy and Slayer and put it together. Kid Cudi, Mr. Rager, remixed that one. And the Smoke Serpent songs that were Bass Nectar samples, they're on there too. Time Stretch and Nothing Has Been Broken, turned those into Smoke Serpent songs.
And what about Hanato Laranja? Are you going to be doing any more movies with him? Death Knuckle type movies?
Well, we want to do
That was fun.
part 2, but it's a financial thing. You need money to do it right. We have the script ready and the ideas. We just need to get funding.
Where'd you get the cash for the last one?
Man, we did that for nothing, man.
Right, okay.
For nothing. Cristo Garcia, who's one of my co-hosts on my podcast,
Yeah.
Eddie Bravo Radio, he's a filmmaker and he put it all together. He did a wonderful job. I mean, we guerrilla produced it.
Yeah.
And that's called, you could see that on YouTube. That's called Return of the Death Knuckle. That's pretty crazy. But
That was fun. And speaking of your podcast, I really like your podcast for some reason. I don't mean it that way, but it's like 4 of you guys hanging out. He's there, right?
yeah, Cristo's there, yeah.
And you usually have a guest on, and you guys just kind of kick it and chat for 3 hours.
Yeah, it's fun.
I find myself going to yours more than a bunch of others. I don't
cool,
know.
man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
some podcasts, sometimes I get annoyed with the hosts, or sometimes people are trying to be too funny, but you guys are just chill, and you're telling all sorts of old school stories. You know, I know the episode 4 was the famous smelly feet story, but like they're all good, you know, and you're really regular about
Thanks,
it.
man. Thank you.
That's what I hate about a podcast is when guys do it and then they stop, you know, because you have to do it. I mean, I'm sure.
We missed 2 weeks in a row.
Did you?
Yeah, at one point we missed 2 weeks in a row. I got sick one week, and another week I was away. I was on the road, so we're skipping this week because of the UK. But you could find, we have 9 episodes. You could find them on iTunes or Stitcher for the Android users. Just search Eddie Bravo Radio.
Yeah, it's all good. What'd you think of the Ronda Rousey fight? I know you and Joe were kind of like early Ronda adopters. You know, you guys made friends with her early on, and you had them on the Joe Rogan show. And I've been a big fan for a long time, but you know, it was kind of cool because you guys kind of were backing her before she was in the UFC and all that stuff. You know,
The first time I heard of her, saw her, was at an amateur show, Tough Enough. I had a couple 10 Planet fighters fighting on the show, and she's in the back warming up, and she had a bunch of GoCore guys from Highest on with her, and I knew those guys, and you know, they were telling me, "Oh, dude, this chick's a beast. She's gonna go out there and tear some shit up." I go, "Oh, really?"
is this the Armenian judo crowd? Is that
Yeah. She grew up with them,
Okay.
so she was a little white girl hanging out with the Armenians, and so I'm watching her hit the focus mitts and warming up. She looked like a beast, and she went out there and destroyed.
Really?
Yeah.
A jiu-jitsu competition.
No, it was amateur MMA.
Oh, okay.
This was amateur MMA.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if it was her second fight or third fight or whatever, but she went out there, quick armbar, and that's where I took notice. I thought, wow, this chick's gonna go somewhere quick.
How long ago was this? 2 years, 3 years?
No, I would say probably 3 years,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
2-3 years, something like that. Yeah, and then I don't know how she ended up on Joe's podcast. Maybe she Twittered Joe or something and said she wanted to do it, and then she came on, and Joe thought it'd be cool if I came on at the same time, and then we went back and forth, invited her down to the gym. She's been to my gym probably about 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
Yeah, she's tough as hell.
Yeah.
She doesn't fucking around. She's a little Tasmanian devil.
There's a lot of pressure on her that night, you know, with all that media and like everything. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on one person.
And then she almost got choked.
Jesus, I was watching with my 9-year-old stepdaughter, and I was screaming because, like, you know, Liz Carmouche cranked that neck, and you've seen UFC fighters tap out from that crank before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, it's all going, you know, wrong. But she's fucking tough, man.
I looking back, you know, while it was happening, I was not feeling too good.
Yeah.
I just wanted her to go through it. But in hindsight, it's good that she went through all that trouble, made the fight way better.
Yeah.
And it was actually perfect. It couldn't have gone.
Yeah.
I mean, having her in trouble, and she barely hangs on by the skin of her teeth, and then she turns it around, and then she's trying some new armbar that she's not known for. It's not new, but she's doing the little headlock armbar thing. I used to do that one a lot back in the day, and
It's like
then
a wrestling move or something?
it's more like a judo. It's
Okay.
like it's a Gene LaBelle. I think Gene LaBelle's the one who showed it to me, or was it Ken Shamrock? An old Ken Shamrock tape that I saw. I think it was a Ken Shamrock. I used to like that move, but it's not very high percentage. And when she tried it the first time. That's how she got her back taken.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to it. She's determined to get it out. Ronda, go to your shit. Just go back to your shit. Who cares what people say? Just go back. And then the way she transitioned to the armbar, right when she gave up on that headlock armbar, man, it was just amazing. You rarely see any kind of movement like that. It was beautiful. And then she fighting for the arm, she's struggling. Liz gets up, tries to stack her, and then she tosses her back down, and then she's struggling. She's having a hard time with the armbar. You know, Liz Carmouche was defending, you know, working on that defense like every day, and you could tell. And then she finally got it at the end of that round. It couldn't have gone any better. She still got it in the first round.
Yeah.
It went down to the wire.
11 seconds to
She
go.
was having trouble. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just that performance alone, you know, advanced women's MMA, you know, you could say 10 years. I mean, that's such a historic moment, you know.
Absolutely.
And it could have been fucked up. You know, she could have got the choke or got choked out or something. But now it's like women's MMA is here, and it's just big, you know.
Yeah. The Cyborg Ronda fight, that should be the biggest pay-per-view of all time. It should be.
Isn't that crazy?
Because by that time, every male MMA fan is going to be into watching Ronda and Cyborg. Like, who wouldn't get excited for Ronda and Cyborg? Come on.
Yeah.
This monster fucking gargoyle beast against this pretty judo Olympian.
Yeah.
Who's not going to want to watch that shit? Who is not going to want to watch that? And then she brings in all the grandmas and then the nieces and aunts, and she could bring in, she could single-handedly take over MMA.
Yeah. I like women's MMA because I find that when the women fight, it's like every fight they're trying to prove something, like that we're good enough to be in here. And so I rarely see a boring women's fight. Like they just seem to be putting it on the line every time.
Yeah, they throw down. Exactly.
They do, right?
Yeah, they throw down hard.
For Strikeforce, I was always excited for the women's one.
Yeah.
And sometimes with guys, you see some guys and it's just a slow fight and it's like, but the women always seem to have this sense of urgency. Like, we belong here. We belong here.
Yeah,
so,
it's true.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be big in the UFC?
I think so. I think so. People thought that there wasn't enough women, but I think now, the women are going to pour in to MMA gyms and jiu-jitsu schools. I think it's gonna get crazy over the next 10 years. And even now, there's a good 10, 15 girls in the 135 that are a threat.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good girls out there.
Yeah. Do you still watch the UFC regularly? Do you still love it as much as you used to, or do you, or not?
I still watch every single one. Okay. Last night we were on.
Don't tell me what happened.
Well, I won't.
See, yeah.
But we watched it on because it came on at 3 a.m. out here.
Okay.
Through the internet, like through a program called Slingbox.
Okay.
That we connected to the TV and we're watching the internet on the TV in the hotel and we're dead asleep and I'm just like barely opening up my eyes. But I missed a little bit of it, but it was hard to sleep. But I was tired, but I couldn't pass out. The UFC's on. And then I ended up getting like an hour of sleep and then an hour in the car. And then I taught a seminar and now I'm here.
Okay.
That's why my eyes look all droopy.
Well, thanks for coming. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
I love watching the UFC. I think I love watching the interviews after sometimes more, like Dana White and the press conference, just to hear what everyone's saying about this and that. It's like, for me, it's a compliment, to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. I just wanted to last question before I let you go. If there's someone out there who never trained jiu-jitsu and is thinking about it, like I always try to get my dad, who's 70, to train. I just tell him, I'm like, you should train. And he's like, I'm too old for that. And I was just wondering what you would tell people who think it's not for them, or they think they're too old for it, or they're a girl, or anything like that. What would you say to them?
If you're scared to do jiu-jitsu because you think it's too dangerous, you just don't understand. It's just as dangerous as playing basketball or soccer. I've been doing jiu-jitsu 19 years, and I've never needed surgery for a broken bone. Although, I have a bunch of friends that do jiu-jitsu, and they have like torn their rotator cuff or torn an ACL, but it happens probably, you probably have more knee injuries in tackle football than jiu-jitsu. But I know some people out there think when I promote jiu-jitsu and try to get people to train that it's all money motivated, and it really isn't. I like the money, but really it's the truth. Jiu-jitsu will change your life for the better. If you stick it out, it will. And I've said this a million times. Joe always says it. It's true. If you just go in and check it out and just watch, and you'll see how safe it really is. There's no punching, there's no striking. You're just wrestling, and you're trying to make each other tap. You're not trying to actually break limbs or put people to sleep. You're just trying to get people to tap, and you learn when to tap, and no one gets hurt, and you tap, and at the same time you learn a very important lesson in life. A lesson of survival. And jiu-jitsu can not only save your life, but it could save the life of your family. And I would love my son to get obsessed with jiu-jitsu as much as I was, but there are some kids that just aren't into it. And so I wonder, how should I get him into it? How should I trick him into it? I just want to make sure, maybe pretend like I don't want him to do it, and then that'll make him want to do it, or what? And I talked to Johnny Machado, who's a brother of my master, Jean-Jacques Machado, and he's got 2 sons, and one of his sons, they both did jiu-jitsu. One's like 23 and one's 19 or something like that. And the older brother, they both did jiu-jitsu, but one got more into soccer, and he focused on soccer. but he still did jiu-jitsu. The other son, the younger son, he's obsessed with it, wants to compete, wants to go compete at the highest levels. He's all into it. And I asked Johnny, what was your secret? And this is something I ask a lot of people that were successful in raising their sons and making sure that they love jiu-jitsu. And I asked him, and he said, I go, did you make them or did you let them decide? He goes, no. In my family, you have to do jiu-jitsu. You have to. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. You might have to defend your mother. And this is for family protection, for self-defense. You don't have to compete, but you have to do it. You're gonna live under this roof. And I thought about that. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
That's kinda cool.
You just don't give them a choice. You make them do it, and you tell them it's, your family is depending on you.
Hodger Gracie was with us a few months ago, and we asked him the same question because he's got a 3-year-old, I think, and we were like, did you force it on him or not? And he said, funny enough, he was on the mat since he was like 6 months, 12 months, like watching everybody like for the longest time. And his thought was like, look, this is a family business. It's what we do as Gracies. He's like, it's what I do. So that way I can spend more time with him if he trains. He's like, again, I'm not going to force him to compete if he doesn't want to, but he said it just makes sense to have him train, because the whole family does it. And so, and that's
and the son's into it?
Yeah, he loves it now. And so
Wow.
they mess around and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think that was his attitude of just like, it's nice to have him part of it because that's the family business. Yeah. Otherwise, he's like, we just have so many more things to talk about and to bond with if he trains. If he doesn't, it's like what Roger does. So.
Yeah, I might have to force my son now that I think about it.
Good luck with that. But how do people get a hold of you and 10th Planet and all that stuff?
I'm on the Nibiru forum daily at 10thplanetjj.com. That's where you can get a hold of me. Also on Twitter at Eddie Bravo. And that's about it. Cool. Facebook is facebook.com/TwisterBravo. There's a bunch of pages out there, and I have a couple fan pages that I run as well. But my main Facebook is /TwisterBravo.
Okay. And would there be a 10th Planet in London soon?
It all depends if there's someone fanatical enough to want to be a 10th Planet instructor. I don't choose where my schools go. They choose me.
They just grow. They organically grow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, if anyone out there wants to contact Eddie to hook that up, then do it. So, cool. Thanks for the time. I know you're tired. I know I sound like a sick man, but thanks for coming in on a Sunday.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
David, thanks for hanging out.
Cheers, man.
And not saying very much, but that's cool. When Eddie's talking, it happens. So, there you go. Until then, guys, it's about the journey. So, be good.
Welcome to London.
I was on top of a hill and I was firing a 50 cal, a heavy machine gun, big thing on a tripod. And at full Taliban, I ran into the compound down, below.